Governors, can you help us understand what New Jersey is currently facing in terms of pension obligations, the state budget, and the deal struck with the unions for pension reform 3 years ago? Governor Florio?
Well, it's hard to explain, but the fact of the matter is we have a serious problem, financial problem in the state. I mean, actually, the pensions and the health care benefits plan total up to $90 billion in a shortfall. And there was an accommodation reached whereby the employees would pay more into the system, and the employees would also have services reduced. That is, the benefits would be reduced in some respects. And in return for the state agreeing to put more money into the pension fund to make up for the shortfalls of over the last number of years. Now we have the state walking away from its responsibility in this agreement, which is effectively almost a contract, and it's being challenged.
Governor Whitman, what's your view on the current situation and what New Jersey is facing in the longer-term view?
Well, as Governor Florio said, this is a very serious issue. I mean, the pension obligation is a moral obligation as well as a legal obligation. This is employees' money. They've paid in. Employers are paid in. They've paid in. And while you have room, and obviously we have a commission now that is supposed to come out with recommendations, you have room to, I believe, change going forward. Back in 2001, the obligations were increased by some 10% by things like lowering retirement age, eligibility, and things like that, with no adjustment to the pension system to allow for the extra costs that meant the obligations. So this has been an ongoing problem growing since then, and it's something with which we've got to deal. So hopefully the commission will come out with some recommendations on moving forward, but it may have to include changing the relationship and some of the benefits or paying in for future employment or employees, not for current. That deal was made.
The sides on this reform effort, though, seem to be divided. The Democrats in the legislature on one side, the administration on the other. How does this complicate any further reform effort? Well,
it makes it very difficult, if not impossible. I mean, this will all be settled by the courts. I mean, there's already lawsuits on this whole matter. And as the governor said, the moral imperative would say that the deal has to be completed. But the fact is, the courts, on the merits, I would think, would prevail, have the employees prevail. But the courts also have a tradition of not interfering in political matters if they decide to do it that way. And if the employees succeed, what you're going to have is a financial catastrophe in the state.
So what is that reality as you see it, Governor Whitman, and how likely is this to go to the Supreme Court to be decided?
I think it probably, almost without question, will end up in the Supreme Court. You obviously have the interim decisions, but and they'll be appealed whichever side loses. There's not much question about that. But Governor Florio is correct that while morally the obligation is there to pay what was agreed to with the current employees, the real thing is, if you do this and if they do prevail in this way, the budget crisis that the state faces will also impact them, because there won't be money to continue to provide the services that we're currently providing. So it's a very difficult issue with which to deal.
You mentioned the bipartisan commission that the governor has appointed. What role could that commission play?
Well, I think the governor's already spelled out what his thoughts are. I'm sure the commission will pay attention to his thoughts. Probably will end up with some kind of 401k program going forward, I would think. I don't know if I think correctly, you can't unilaterally change the rules now, but going forward we'll probably have a different type of pension system.
Well, you mentioned the 401k, and certainly others have mentioned that. Would that solve the problem long term, do you think, Governor Whitman?
Well, it would certainly help. I don't know whether it's going to solve it. You have to look at other things that have happened along the way, what the appropriate retirement age is and the kinds of benefits, all those sorts of things that will factor into it. But that's a first step, and I'm waiting to see what the commission recommends and then how far it's taken.
401k program itself has lots of difficulties. I mean, what you're doing is taking the responsibility away from the employer, in this case the state, giving it to the employees to make smart decisions, depending upon when you retire in the business cycle. If you retire at a time when the business cycle is down, that's a big problem. So, I mean, that's a problem for the nation as well. and translate it and transfer it over to the state is problematic, I think.
Governor Whitman, Governor Florio, thank you very much for helping us to further understand this very complicated issue for New Jersey.
Thank you.